The next one is attitudes. The first question, how do I get my kids to want to learn?
I think that's a struggle all the way around. You know, as adults, do we always want to learn something that we have to? I'd have to confess myself and say no, but I think it's up to us as parents to just try to kind of spark that interest. You know, if it's a book that you know they don't want to read, read them the first chapter and leave them hanging. Or if it's a science experiment, I wonder what would happen if we did this, and you kind of leave them curious to be able to find out more. And you're going to find that they want to learn, especially when they're younger. They have such a sense of wonder, and they want to anyway. It's when you get into the older ages that it can become more of a struggle, and you might have to get a little fancier with it. But I think it's just sparking their interest and connecting it to something that they already know, and then they will more want to take it further.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to quote one of our friends who was supposed to be on here. One of the last things she said, I thought, well, all the things she said was really good. But I think pertaining to this, she said, to help children get their work done, remember the carrot is more powerful than the stick, meaning that offering a reward for work completed, like getting to play outside, play with a special toy, have 15 minutes later of bedtime, or screen time, or whatever that reward is more effective than imposing consequences. Although consequences for disobedience or bad attitude are, of course, necessary. So, you know, definitely it's okay to incentivize if that helps your child. Like, okay, hey, let's get our math done so we can take a break and go outside and explore. You know, I mean, you've got the freedom to do that, and you've got the time to do that. So, you know, don't, I don't know how else to phrase that. But I think that's an opportunity too. And then, yeah, I back on what Leanne said, and that teaching them how to learn, to love to learn is a lifelong, it's a lifelong learning of that. And so I do think someone once told me was, as you're searching for curriculum, also find something that you enjoy. If you know that you don't like learning history out of a textbook, I don't. So I use a more Charlotte Mason approach. I do history through literature. We do a lot of reading, written books or things like that, because that's how I like to learn, and that's how I like to learn history. And I find my kids enjoy hearing, you know, and reading and learning that way too. So, I mean, you know, find what your family dynamic is in those areas, and that can hopefully help you figure out, okay, we struggle learning history. How can we make it fun? Or, you know, and like Leanne said, help, like, ask questions. That'll cause them to have to think, and get engaged. And so it might take a while. Don't think that day one it's all of a sudden. Remember that you're going into a totally new routine for yourself and for your kids. And so it might take a while before that routine gets established, or just that new, you know, they're going to be in a new learning environment. And so give yourself time to kind of get into that as well.
I think the biggest advice I have is homeschooling is more relational than any other teaching. And so you're not talking at them, you're talking with them. And so everything you do is a conversation. Sometimes that extends your day a little bit, but you can sit there and do a Socratic seminar with a first grader. You really can. Like, you can ask them questions and have a conversation about stuff as they're learning it. and have them teach you things back. So just remembering your mom first, and that relationship is the most important part. And that kind of goes into the next question is, what if my kids won't pay attention to me?
Mm-hmm.
If your children are used to being in a school setting, they should already be used to paying attention to a teacher. And I would, before you even start your school year, I would sit down and have a real conversation with your kids and say, hey, we're a team here, and this is going to be different. I'm taking on this teaching role, and I am willing to do that for you, but you need to be willing to listen and work with me, and we all need to be able to work together and respect each other's time and space and cheer each other on. And when everyone's working together as a team, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys have anything else about that, about how to get kids to pay attention.
And like, this is our going into our 6th year of homeschooling, and we still there's days where there's with attitude, I don't want to do this. Like, I understand your opinion, but we still need to have a productive day, you know. And I always tell my kids there's a difference between laziness and rest. And so there are days where, yes, we need the rest. And so we might take a day off of textbook type of or bookwork type of work, but we're still, you know, I always tell the kids, learning doesn't come out of just a book, a textbook. Learning is doing things. So, you know, even though we're not doing worksheets or workbooks today, we're still going to be learning. So we're still going to be reading, we're still going to be exploring, we're still going to have conversations. We're not just going to waste away our time and do absolutely nothing. And so so I do struggle with kids who still are stubborn and don't want to get their schoolwork done. And we also have a conversation, and I say, okay, well, what do you think if I don't hold you to this and have you do schoolwork, what do you think, how does that look like as your life plays out? What are the consequences of that? And have that conversation in hopes that it brings them to the realization that what you're trying to have them do is beneficial for them. You know, it's hard, but it's also beneficial. So don't be afraid to have that conversation with them. And like Laura said, it is a conversation. Homeschooling is just a constant conversation you're having throughout the day.
And I think it helps if you're honest with them too, you know, and say that, yeah, I'm not like your teacher last year, or the one you had the year before, or what you're going to have next year. You know, I'm not going to do things the same way. Life circumstances can be hard sometimes, and this isn't going to be the last time that we're faced with situations that we don't like. But this is an opportunity for us to work through this together. I highly encourage prayer. Pray alone, pray with your spouse, pray with your kids. I go back to God's word when, you know, he tells us to give thanks in all circumstances. I know things are rough in our world right now. None of us want to be here, but it's where we are, and God is here with us, and he's sovereign over this. And he's not going to leave us. He's with us going through it. I think it also helps to know that we're going to make mistakes, and we need to be open and honest about those, recognize them, and make changes. But feel free to go to your kids and say, you know what, I messed up. I did this wrong. This is not working, and I need you to forgive me. Mm-hmm. It's going to take time for us to work this through together. And, you know, we're going to come out of this at the end being best friends. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think, Annette, I mean, we always start our day with prayer, but meltdowns will happen every once in a while. You know, that's just going to happen, whether it's a kid or whether it's me, you know, and stopping the day and praying for each other, praying for better attitudes, praying for a sibling who's struggling with something. I think that means a lot to your child. And that usually, sometimes you need to have a conversation about where's this attitude coming from, talking about sin. But I think that that's a way to redirect the attitude.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. What do I do with stubborn kids who might not like this new situation we're in?
I think like what you said, Laura, before you even start the year, have that sit down and have that conversation as a family, because you're all going to be in it together, right? And so it's, you know, if you didn't plan to homeschool this year and you find yourself in that boat, that as a parent was not in the plan, but clearly God's directing you and changing your heart and opening you up to this opportunity and to take this path. And so have that conversation with your children and be honest. And there, you are going to have tough days for sure. It's tough. It's tough parenting. That doesn't stop when you homeschool. You're just adding another hat to what you're wearing, right? So you're parent and teacher now. And so just, you know, like everyone said, stop and pray. Like I said, I have a friend who, if they start going on their day and everyone's going and just things start getting haywire, they go and they reset and they go back to, okay, we're going to pray, we're going to do devotions, we're going to start again. Like this is just, and so do that. That it helps, it recenters and refocuses what you're doing. And so, yeah, and hopefully you are all seeing God at the center of this, right? That he's cultivating this learning in your home, and that he's at the center of it, and hopefully that helps. I mean, you can't go wrong if you put God at the center. It helps recalibrate everything.
Okay, we have another question about attitudes. This one's about parents. What if I don't have enough patience for this every day?
Oh, friend, listen, you're preaching to the choir here. That is the running joke of like every year God's working on my patience and teaching me more and more. And because it is, I probably get that comment a lot of, I don't have the patience to homeschool, so I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not a patient person either. It's something that I have to grow and learn, and and my patience grows. Sometimes a slow growth, but growth. And so, you know, that's where you've got to be, you yourself need to be prayed up, and you need to be, if you're not getting in the word in your own personal time with the Lord, you need to get that in, because that helps recalibrate yourself and your mindset and your attitude. And I definitely know and notice there are days where I'm just short with my kids. I have to go back in my room and put myself in like a 10-minute, 15-minute timeout of getting back, praying, getting in the word, and then coming back out and kind of having a reset. And that there's a special gift in that, guys, of just your kids seeing that honesty and just that transparency that we're human. Adults are human who fall short as well, and we make mistakes, and you know, and God gives us the grace and forgiveness for that. And so, you know, there might be days where I'm speaking to myself, you yell at your kid because they're not, getting frustrated. Why aren't you understanding this? We've done this forever. How are you not getting this concept? And as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I want to pull it back in, and you can't, but you can ask for forgiveness, and you can have that conversation, and you can say, listen, I'm so sorry. And I've had to apologize. I mean, you can ask any of my kids. They're honest. They'll tell you. I've had to apologize. There's times where they've called me out on it, and that humbles you as a parent when your own child recognizes the sin in your own life. And you just have to be humble and recognize that you're not going to get things perfect. You're not going to always get things right. And God's growing you in this too. And so, don't be afraid to ask forgiveness from your kids if you lose it on them. It's showing them that we all fall short. We all need to ask for forgiveness. We all need God's grace. And so we're all still learning patience, you know, and we're all still learning this new normal. You know, it's a new normal for them. It's a new normal for you. And so don't be afraid to have that conversation with them, and don't be afraid to ask them for forgiveness if that happens.
I think a lot of times we see homeschooling as us passing on learning to our children, but what we forget is that, you know, homeschooling is how God sanctifies us. We learn more from our children than they're learning from us, because first of all, you know, they're just mirror images of us a lot of times. You know, if they're acting up, you know, maybe that's a reflection of what our heart looks like. But you know, it's a gracious opportunity to point our kids to the gospel. To think that we just have all these little opportunities before us, you know, we think they're a bad situation at first, but if we look at it as, wow, God, you know, you exposed my sin of my impatience so that I can show to them how I should respond to the sin in my life. And, you know, it's a win-win-win situation all around, but we are definitely sanctified. And I would say too that when this time comes, know that you're not alone. All of us go through that.
Yes.
I think we had one more question. It was very similar about just, you know, what if I decide to do this and it's also overwhelming? I think just like we've said, resetting and remembering if you choose to do this, you know, for the year, or if you feel called to do this, this is an opportunity to pour into your kids. And, you know, if you keep resetting that and realizing what the real goal was, you know, that they'll learn math, they'll learn how to diagram a sentence, but we're trying to also build them up and show them Jesus as we go, right? So we're working on character issues just as much as we are with grammar. So,
or even more.
I think those are, yeah, more so. But those are all good things to remember. So you can have a rigorous academic program for them, and at the same time, a gentle character building, developing relationship going on too.